You know how sometimes you're reading an old story and you come across a super specific detail that just seems weird? Well, today we're diving into one of the most fascinating numerical puzzles I've ever come across. It's been hiding in plain sight for nearly 2,000 years in one of the world's most famous texts. It's a code that has baffled people for centuries, and today we're going to try to crack it. So picture this. We're on the Sea of Galilee. A group of fishermen, disciples of Jesus, have been out on the water all night long and have caught absolutely nothing. Then, some guy on the shore yells at them to try casting their net on the other side of the boat. They do it, and bam, they haul in this massive, miraculous catch of fish. But the text is so specific. It says 153 large fish. And right there, that's the mystery. Why that number? Why not just say a boatload of fish or around 150? The fact that it's so precise, 153, has convinced a lot of people that this isn't just some random number. They believe it's a code, a hidden message intentionally planted in the story. So what on earth could it mean? Okay, to figure this out, we've got to put on our detective hats. And like with any good mystery, the first thing you do is identify the people at the scene. Who was actually there? Because the theory we're going to explore today suggests that these people aren't just characters in a story, they are the living, breathing clues to the puzzle. The text gives us a roll call of 5 specific guys in that boat. You've got Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, and then the 2 sons of Zebedee, James and John. Now, hold on to those 5 names, because the theory we're digging into claims that these 5 men are the absolute key to unlocking the secret of 153. So, here's the theory in a nutshell. It's pretty wild. The idea is that if you go through all 4 Gospels, that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you count up every single time these 5 specific guys are mentioned by name, the grand total will be, you guessed it, 153. It's a bold claim, for sure. So let's see if the evidence actually holds up. All right, but we can't just go in and start counting like crazy. To really test this theory, we need a strict set of rules. We have to be really, really careful to only count what the source for this theory calls pure mentions. This is how we separate the real clues from all the red herrings. So what's a pure mention? It's simple, really. It's any time the text names one of our 5 fishermen from the boat, Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, James son of Zebedee, or John son of Zebedee. If a name refers to somebody else, it's out. It doesn't count. And this is where it gets a little tricky because, some of these names were incredibly common back then. For example, let's take the name James. There were a bunch of guys named James running around in the Gospels. So if we see a mention of James, son of Zebedee, that's our guy. The one in the boat, that's a pure mention. We count it. But if the text mentions James the Less, who was a totally different apostle, that's what the source calls an anti-mention. It's a false lead, so we have to ignore it. The same goes for making sure we're counting John the Apostle, not John the Baptist. Okay, we've got our roles, we've got our method. It is time to get our hands dirty and actually go to the texts and start counting. Let's take a look at each of our 5 fishermen one by one and see what the numbers tell us. Let's start with the big one, the leader of the pack, Simon Peter. He is all over the Gospels, a really central character, so right away we should expect a pretty high number for him. And yep, it's a big one. The total count, after carefully coding through all the texts, is exactly 97 pure mentions of Peter. That's our first piece of the puzzle, all right? Lock it in your memory. 97. Okay, next up, we've got Thomas, the guy everyone remembers as Doubting Thomas. He doesn't show up nearly as often as Peter, but every single one of his mentions is a critical piece of our puzzle. So, how many times is Thomas mentioned? The grand total across all 4 Gospels comes out to 11. All right, our third fisherman is Nathanael of Cana. Now, he's a bit more of a deep cut. He shows up mostly in the Gospel of John. And his final count adds another 6 to our running total. It's a smaller number, sure, but every number counts. Now we get to the sons of Zebedee, who were part of Jesus' inner circle. First up, we have James. And after being super careful to filter out all those other Jameses, the final tally of pure mentions for James, the son of Zebedee, is 19. And last but not least, we have his brother, John. And again, you have to be so careful here to only count the mentions of John the Apostle, not John the Baptist. The count for John comes in at 20. So there we have it. We've got all 5 of our numbers. The million-dollar question is, what do they all add up to? All right, let's do the math. Let's put this whole puzzle together. We start with Peter's 97 mentions. We add Thomas's 11, that gets us to 108. Then we add Nathanael's 6, bringing us to 114. Then comes James with 19, for a total of 133. And finally, we add John's 20, and the grand total is 153. It's a perfect match. I mean, come on. The number of times these 5 specific men are mentioned by name is the exact, precise number of fish they pulled out of the water. Is that a coincidence? Or is this some kind of deliberate hidden signature? It's just an incredible finding. But just when you think you've got the mystery all wrapped up, it turns out there's one more absolutely fascinating layer to this whole thing. See, this perfect count, it isn't quite so simple. It actually depends entirely on which ancient copy of the text you happen to be reading. Okay, so this is where it gets really mind-bending. The perfect count of 153, it only shows up in one specific family of ancient Greek manuscripts, the one that was used to create the King James Bible. But there are other ancient manuscript traditions, copied by different scribes in different places over hundreds of years. And they have these tiny little variations. Some of them might be missing a single mention of Peter here or Thomas there, which gives them totals of 152 or even 150. Now, this doesn't disprove the pattern, not at all. If anything, it makes the mystery even deeper, because it suggests this hidden code is tied to one very specific ancient textual tradition. So what are we supposed to make of all this? Is this an intentional code put there by the author? Or is it a scribe's hidden little signature? Or is it just a one in a million coincidence of history? We might never know for sure, but it absolutely forces us to look at these ancient writings in a new way, not just as stories, but as these incredibly intricate structures that might be holding secrets we're only just now starting to figure out. And that leaves us with one last big question. What other hidden patterns are just sitting there waiting to be discovered?